Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.
Zubin Amiri is the CEO and founder of Zubin Organic, an Iranian agribusiness that produces tea, walnuts, oranges, raisins, and wild pistachios. He's the fifth generation to manage the family-owned business, which was founded in 1898. Zubin has been a member of the board of the Iran Organic Association since 2008 and serves as vice president of the board of Bio Co-op of Iran. He graduated cum laude from the Kogod School of Business at American University and holds a degree in French Studies at École des Roches, as well as a degree from the Institute of La Roche in Switzerland. More recently, he studied global sustainability management at UCLA. Welcome to the podcast, Zubin.
I wanted to, first of all, express my appreciation towards your decades of putting time and effort and love into this industry and creating this awareness for farmers, for producers, for brand owners, traders, and your work deserve this appreciation.
Thank you, Zubin. What are the inherent characteristics of Iranian tea?
You know, Iran is famous for many agricultural products, pistachios, saffrons, even a variety of fruits, apple, citrus. And it's such a vast country with different climate zones. You know, we have about 11 climate zones out of 13 climate zones in Iran. So this gives us the ability to produce a vast variety of agricultural products on different parts of Iran. Now, where the best climate for growing tea has been found, it's on the north part, or I should say maybe north, more towards northeast of the country, south of the Caspian Sea, just along the Caspian coastline comes up the Alborz Mountains that these tea farms are situated. And the way the mountains are situated and the distance from the Caspian Sea and the whole topography and the climate that is created very close to the Mediterranean climate there on the south side of the Caspian Sea, the moisture that it creates, the amount of rainfall that it creates, and the slope situated and the gradients of the slope, which is on average, it's about 30 to 35 degrees. These all affect the taste and aroma and the tasting of the tea. We all know tea also really depends how you grow it, not only where you grow it, but how you grow it and how you pluck it and how you transport that plucked tea to a factory and how does that factory really puts the care and attention and love into each processed teas. We produce a mostly orthodox tea in Iran. So we have a witter, and then we have rolling, and then we have oxidation, and then we have drying. So each of these parts of process, you have to follow a certain standard on how you are processing your tea. And in the 80s, Iran's tea industry went from a more traditional processing method to a more mass production machineries and processing. And that's where we lost a little bit of quality. Now, I can tell you in this last decade, we're going back to producing and concentrating more on quality tea. That means we're taking each process of orthodox tea more seriously and try to fine tune that art of, I call it the art of tea. how you process your tea is very important on how you get those extracts on the taste notes. In general, I would say the Iranian tea has different notes of cacao, green pepper, citrus flavor, and a kind of a toastiness that even might remind you of a hochicha tea or of a hochicha tea. We taste different teas from all over the world and really has a unique character, and it's very pleasing and fascinating in terms of notes, the kind of taste you would expect from a fine tea. I see a lot more enthusiastic, young entrepreneurs and producers that are getting into specialized teas, handmade teas, and giving more attention to this delicate process of making teas. So that's why we were seeing a lot of good teas coming out now, more higher quality rather than the old strategy of only mass production tea. So I'm glad that we're seeing that has been changed over the years.
I want you to elaborate on that briefly, because the tea you describe is exportable at a good price, but it's a highly competitive niche. Another 8 or 10 countries are making orthodox black tea. It takes work to find the right market fit, but regional teas with distinctive, pleasing flavors can create a market globally. Their taste, however, must be distinctive enough so that when someone takes a sip, they exclaim, "Oh my, where did this come from?"
So this is what I realized as the fifth generation in this industry, that we were losing the edge domestically, internationally with the type of tea we were producing, which was more as a commodity tea. And that's when I decided to produce the first organic tea in Iran. And that was bringing up one level up in terms of the health consciousness of the type of tea leaves as the raw material that we're using to make it a certified organic tea based on EU standards and the NOP, USDA organic standards. That was the first stage of us trying to hype up the quality that we are producing in Iran. And then the second stage was the fine tuning of each process, from getting on the farms and growing this tea, from collecting them to transporting them, and then bringing it into the factory and not pushing it towards bringing it to that complete stages, taking the time in the rolling, not overloading the machinery that we use. If you are focused on the mass production, you're not going to put time, 3 hours or 3.5 hours in the oxidation level, where all the characteristics or most of the characteristics of the black tea is made in there, the aroma, the color, and many of the noting characteristics is made. So that's time consuming, and you have to be patient with it just when you want to brew it. And so that was a second stage that we got into in our own organization and company. And then the third stage was getting into the specialized tea, which is more hand processed teas, which it's very exclusive. It really takes the notes and flavors and the medicinal impacts to a different level. It's just maybe the touch of hand that goes into the process of making these teas, and you have to be much more patient than the regular machinery process into that. So that is where we find actually more demand for us in our tea, is to make more specialized handcrafted teas for the market. I think that the market is about something more unique in terms of characteristics of the tea they're drinking.
Will you describe Iran's tea terroir and harvest cycle?
Just the climate by itself, and the rich soil that Iran has by nature, and the very weather-friendly environment that we have on the Caspian coastline for growing tea. The experience of drinking a cup of tea from these mountains is what really motivates me and keeps me grounded. Iran's tea industry is a 6 months season. We start from late April to late October. That's our harvest season. And because of the winter is cold and these tea farms that are in the mountains get covered by snow, the pesticides is controlled by the cold and snow. There's no pesticidization in the tea farms. They do perhaps use some chemical fertilizers or weed control substance, but they don't use any pesticides for controlling pests. So that's a big advantage in making Iran's tea a very healthy drink in terms of the emerald substances that you would find in, like, let's say, some tea in south of India or Sri Lanka that has heavily been pesticides.
It's important for your export capabilities into European markets, particularly because the EU's maximum pesticide residue thresholds are a barrier for many tea trading countries.
We have about 25,000 hectares of land that has been used for tea right now.
Yeah.
And this is giving us roughly about 30,000 of processed dry tea.
Yep.
For this year, 2024, 18 years ago, I would say, we were producing about 60,000 tons of processed tea, which now has gone down to 28,000 for this year. Last year was about 30,000, and the year before that was 33,000. We can say easily this number can be pushed to 50,000, 60,000 hectares of tea farms, which will bring up the production. Somehow, I would say about 70-80% of the consumption can be supplied from the domestic production. But there are many key elements right now playing in the Iranian beverage consumption. Living and working and producing in a country like Iran at this point of history, it's really inevitable not to get caught up with politics.
Right.
I can easily say that the sanctions have been really hurting the agriculture and food industries. These sanctions start being implemented in 2010 and 2011. They were probably the last layer of sanctions that were put on Iran for agricultural products. And well, this is not hurting the government, of course. This is hurting regular producers and farmers that are trying to make this tea and send it to everywhere in the world. We had to constantly shift our market from USA to Europe and working with Europe for a couple of years. Then they were not able to purchase our tea because of the sanctions that they were working with the American companies. They were not able to supply the Iranian organic tea to that market. So they shifted to the Russian market. Then Russia was sanctioned, Europeans. So that market was cut off. So it's really not only we have to juggle with the climate issues, domestic policies. Now we really are juggling with what markets are left for us to work and maneuvering around these sanctions so we can survive.
Iran drinks a lot more tea than what is currently cultivated, but you've got idle tea land that could be used. What's your guess on how many additional hectares could be cultivated?
Yeah, I agree. That's a great potential in the industry that we have, being a tea-consuming market. However, the behavior of the beverage consumption has recently changed. Some part of it has been taken by coffee, and some part of it has been taken by herbal infusions.
Right.
So 5 years ago, Iran was importing about 10,000 metric tons of coffee into the country. And this year, the import of coffee was about 58,000 tons of coffee. So almost six times more than 5 years ago. And so our observation of this is that people are probably switching because, we like the West had the coffee era. I believe we just were hit by the coffee era here in
Right,
Iran since, like,
right.
let's say the early 1990s, the 2000s, when Starbucks came and everybody, that coffee hype came up, and now we're seeing that coffee era coming and entering Iran. We've opened these coffee shops all over the town and cities, and so uh, coffee consumptions have gone up by 5 times. Tea is still a number one drink in Iran. Make no mistake. In the 1990s, we had a change in type of expectation and tea that we were produced. So we got familiar with scented teas, like, bergamot flavors, which are chemical flavoring to the tea. So that's where the consumption went towards these kind of imported teas. But in the last, again, 10, 12, 15 years, we see a switch again. The market has realized that this type of tea perhaps is not the best choice for their health because of the chemical flavors that they're consuming.
Let's talk for a moment about the business of tea. Can you make money making tea in Iran right now?
It's still,
Yeah.
wherever you go, whether you're invited to somebody's house or somebody's office, still tea is the main beverage that is being served. And people crave for their cup of tea of the day to get calm and relax and take the tiredness out of their body. That's how they explain. They say, let's drink a tea. I feel tired. I want the tiredness to get out of my body. So they believe that tea takes out the tiredness from their body and rejuvenates and energizes them again. And the problem is, I think, is mostly the clutter that we have and not having sufficient data and management and import. And most of the years we're overfloated with imports. Why is this happening? Is because we are selling oil to some countries like Sri Lanka and India and Kenya that, because of the sanctions, they cannot pay off us in dollars. They are giving us or paying off our oil with tea, for example, like what Sri Lanka and India and Kenya and these countries are how they're bartering oil with tea, which in that case, that's going to be a lot of tea.
When those oil for tea barters occur, it's not a sale to meet market demand. Auction brokers don't assess the quality of each lot, and buyers don't know precisely what they are getting. Meanwhile, arriving containers pile up quickly in the warehouse.
It's been a tough ride.
Wow.
I have to be honest, um, it's not so hard taking it in a couple of years, like let's say 1 or 2 or 3 years. But when this gets into a 15, 20 years battle and you just are surviving in that
Right,
environment,
right.
it it's not an easy situation. The question of shutting down a tea farm was never an option. So we had to
Right.
continue and, and get through these new governance that was being imposed and being created either by international policies or the domestic market. It's been very challenging, but again, we say what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. There's a good future for the Iranian tea to come to be noticed in the world. That's my main optimistic view and really what is taking me forward every day. And while this is happening, we are working on fine tuning that mastery of art of tea making. when there's a will, there's a way. Doing business in Iran has an extra cost to it when you have to go around the sanctions. You're not doing anything bad. It's just you want to sell your tea. We're eager to open these channels and have this fascinating tea to our tea lovers, to all these tea lovers around the world.
Early holiday savings have arrived at Tanger Outlets. Discover the best gifts from your favorite brands, perfect for everyone on your list. And stack your savings with up to 70% off, plus an extra 15 to 25% off only during Tanger Style. Save at Polo Ralph Lauren, Old Navy Outlet, Under Armour, Skechers, J. Crew Factory, and more. Hurry in. These early holiday deals last through November 24th. Tanger Outlets. More savings, more cheer.